CarolinaPrepper.com. If you're looking for quality food storage for hiking, fishing, hunting, basic survival needs, or just for everyday use, check out our food storage line at CarolinaPrepper.com. We also carry other fine quality products such as our can concealment holsters for men and women. Keeping your firearm under cover and within reach puts confidence in your hands in any situation. Our products are 100% American made. Check us out today at CarolinaPrepper.com.
Knowles on the news. Susan Knowles.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Knowles on the News. So glad that you're here and can join us today. Lot to talk about as usual. A lot of bad weather for people who are in Puerto Rico. A lot happening in Mexico City. I don't know if you were able to see everything that went on in Mexico City, but it was really, really horrible yesterday to watch after that 7.1 earthquake, and I believe that may have been the official count on that. To see slabs of concrete just falling off of buildings was something I don't think I've ever seen before after an earthquake. I mean, I live in California. We do have a terrible time, with the earthquakes, but our buildings are built so much better, I guess, than those in Mexico City. Also, we haven't had a 7.1 as well. And just to watch that, to know that buildings collapsed, to know that 22 children at least in a school building lost their lives. What a horrendous thing to know, and to see people being actually pulled out of the rubble yesterday as well. Just our hearts and our prayers go out to those people in Mexico City. I know so far, depending upon who you listen to, there's either been about 225 or 240, some, plus people, 48. I think 248 was the last thing I heard, that have lost their lives, and they say that there's probably going to be a lot more than that. Sad also to note that those people were in a church service, I guess, in the morning, and they were remembering the horrific earthquake, I should say, that they had about 30 years ago. And they were, giving thanks that they had survived that earthquake. And then here we go with right after that, literally moments, I guess, after the church service, we had the horrific 7.1 earthquake in Mexico City. So, we're seeing a lot of that around our country, earthquakes and hurricanes. And a lot of people say that it's the sign of, the times. It's a sign of the end times. That God said that, we would see signs of the end times. And some people think that, it's God's punishment. I don't necessarily think it's a punishment. I think God's trying to get our attention and showing us what's important, where our focus should be. And a lot of times this is happening, and again, it was forecasted by God, that it was going to happen at this time, because we are in the end times. I also want to, remember today Puerto Rico, who was hit by a Category 4 Maria, a hurricane, and the pictures that I'm seeing right now are just total devastation. Yesterday, an official from Puerto Rico actually said the words, "evacuate or die." And I heard from a friend of mine that that's typical for officials in Puerto Rico to say that. And his family is in Puerto Rico right now, and of course he's worried about them. But he said that the buildings there are pretty well, made out of cement and concrete, going to be able to hold up under the hurricane weather. But what the problem is all of the water and the destruction that occurs because of the hurricane that Puerto Rico may have difficulties with. And in fact, I heard that the land there in Puerto Rico, the whole area, may be uninhabitable for weeks and months to come. So, again, we're going to be praying for Puerto Rico, praying for Mexico City, and all those areas that are affected by a hurricane. There was a bit of good news out of that that I was talking about in my earlier show this morning. A woman by the name of Sally Gear, who has a island rescue. I believe it was Island. Let me get the correct name if I can find it for you really quickly here. Island Dog Rescue in Virginia. And she had heard that Maria was coming and she wanted to do something about it. So she took part of her own money, part of money from donations and other people. And what she did was she chartered a plane, a private jet, to go to the Caribbean and to rescue the dogs and cats that were there, as many as she could get. She rescued 300 of them in a very, very short period of time because she knew she had a very short window to get in and get out. So God bless her for doing that. She spent $112,000, I think it was, to get a private jet to go in there and fly in and out, at short notice. She also got, I believe it was see how many that she got. She paid $5,000 for all the dog and cat carriers that were needed to get the animals safely out of there. And she brought all of them back to her farm in Virginia. So thank you, Ms. Gear, for doing that. If anybody, again, Island Dog Rescue, if you're looking for a good place, if you love animals like I do and looking for an organization to give to, this certainly sounds like a great organization to do just that. And, again, it's going to be devastating. The Virgin Islands were, with Irma, were just everything there. They said that every building was either destroyed or had some type of destruction on it, every single building. And, for people to try to get back and get back to their lives is going to be very hard. We need to continue praying for them. We need to continue not giving our money to the Red Cross, as we talked about in earlier shows, that the Red Cross, allegations against them that they have gone in, taken some of the donations, just commandeered them from private donations from people that they had and from churches, started selling some of it. Dog food they just threw away, said we don't need that. We'll get some, later at some other place. And that's when they were going down for Irma. And to take care of the people down there and the pets down there. So I would say don't give your money to the Red Cross. You do whatever you want. Look up what's been going on, what's being said about them. People I trust and that were on scene when some of this happened, I believe them that this did occur. So I'm not giving another dime to the Red Cross ever again. I think there are other organizations, private individuals that can help with any type of, a rescue type effort, long-term goals of trying to get people food and water and everything else. And I think we need to learn how to do that ourselves so that we can take care of ourselves. We don't need FEMA. We don't need the Red Cross. We don't need other people coming in and taking things from us in order to do what we were just doing, and making money off of it themselves. We don't need that. I think you would agree on that. So again, let's keep Mexico City, Puerto Rico, other people in Houston that were affected by Harvey that are still trying to get back to normal. People in Florida that were affected by Irma, and those people even in Georgia and other places that were impacted by that. We're going to keep praying for you and keep hoping that assistance is coming to you. We will try to keep donating to you when we hear where the need is so that you can get back as well. And into what that you need to do and get your lives going again. Because I can only imagine how difficult that is. I know I've been evacuated before, but thank God not for, came back to a house that I had and wasn't destroyed. Some of those people and Harvey and Irma and now Maria don't have a home to go back to. And we pray for you that you would make decisions for yourself and your family, what you need to do. And again, reach out when you need donations, and we will try to get that message out as quickly as we can on this show, I know. Now, the other day, President Trump, I don't know if many of you got to hear the speech that he did at the UN. Some people are saying that's the best speech they've ever heard. I think it was a pretty clear message, pretty great speech as to what the president thought about different areas of, of issues that we have, concerns that he has, that he's seeing around the world. Um, I did like the fact that he told the dictator in North Korea, no uncertain terms, keep it up, and we'll totally destroy you if that's what it has to be. Now, of course, the left immediately didn't like that because it was, oh, wow, you're going to kill 25 million people. And of course, they didn't talk about the time when Obama said to North Korea, you will get the full might of the military. Now, I don't know how that's different from we'll totally destroy you, but apparently it is. Apparently it was okay for Obama to say that, but it wasn't okay for President Trump to say anything that sort of mirrored the same thing, just in different terms. But some of the reporters were, oh my gosh, he's just talked about killing people. What are you going to do? I mean, the snowflakes were melting. Let me just tell you, the snowflakes were melting. Other people looked at it and said, you know what? This is something that he had to say, something he needed to say, something that we needed to tell North Korea exactly what our intentions are. We're not going to be taking this from North Korea. I mean, let's face it. They're getting bolder and bolder with what they're doing. They are, testing missiles that are reaching over Japan, South Korea, different areas like that. It's only a matter of time before he launches one into America. Some people say, well, that'll never happen. He's just talking. But he is doing more than just talking. And let's face it, I think he also has Iran that's helping him with the nuclear weapons that he's getting. It's not like he's doing this on his own. In some regards, he has the backing of China, who said that if the United States attacks North Korea, they'll stand with North Korea. But if North Korea attacks America, they'll be neutral. So, we're kind of alone in this right now. I don't think it's something that we want. I know it's not something that Americans want. It's not something that the president wants to do. He even said, I'm hoping that this is something that I won't have to do. I don't want to have to go and go after this dictator in his country. But America comes first, and I'm going to protect America. So I think that's a really good thing, that he has, again, sent a clear message that we're not going to take it from you, North Korea. I personally think that the best thing to do would be to go in and take Kim Jong-un out. However, because of North Korea, because they have been brainwashed since early on, because they look at the dictator as basically a god, if you want to put it in that way. They're required to, worship his pictures and everybody else's pictures and be enthusiastic when they see him and no matter what he's doing. So I'm not sure if we take him out, what's going to happen? Who's going to take his place? We don't want to be into this regime change type situation again. We know that doesn't work so well. But this is different. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but it is different. We're talking about a country who is saying we're going to come after the United States. We don't care if we harm people in the United States, and he's making steps towards doing that. So this isn't about, well, let's just go in and do a regime change and get somebody new. This is serious. This is a threat to the United States and the sovereignty of the United States itself. Something that we haven't had. In Iraq, when we went in, that was different. A lot of people thought we shouldn't go in and do that. Well, they did attack us in 9/11 in New York, but it wasn't something where they were looking at attacking the entire United States, I guess you could say, and they weren't launching missiles. But I say they were launching planes instead. So in a way, it is a little bit different for some people, I think, when they look at it. In some ways, it's exactly the same. Whichever way you look at it, I was for going into Iraq. I was going in and showing them that you're not going to do this to the people of the United States. As for North Korea, if it takes it, if it need be, if we really are in danger that we're being told that we are, if missiles could launch into the United States and kill people, then yes, I'm for going in there and stopping it at whatever we need to do. The people that are there, the citizens, of course, I hope that there is no casualty. Will there be civilian casualties? I believe so, and I think we would be remiss not to think that there would be those type of casualties. You with that many people there, and the way that they live, and they don't have very much protection, and et cetera, you're going to have some large casualties. And I know that it wouldn't be looked at very well, and I get it. But I also get that the Americans, we need to preserve this country. We need to preserve life and property in this country. And if that means having to go into North Korea to make sure that Americans are safe, then that has to be. That's just the way it is. And again, I know some people aren't going to like it, but you can't make friends with people who want to kill you. It doesn't work. We tried that with, let's just hug a tree and give ISIS some jobs and they'll be fine, they'll love us. No, it doesn't work that way. I know that was the Obama way, and that's the left-leaning way of doing things. But the way to look at it is these people have said, we want to kill you. Take them at their word. And you'll be better off if you do. Okay? When somebody says, we want you dead, you just take them for their word. And if it changes later on and they change that and you see that it has, great. But until then you take the course of action that is needed. And I really don't necessarily think that Donald Trump would take actions like that without going to Congress. Now, he may, and he would be justified in taking those actions if the United States of America and the people inside this country were at risk. Then he has the authority as the president to do that. And so we'll just have to wait and see. Again, I think the left would have you believe that Donald Trump is just waiting for something like this to happen so he could go out and start a war. It's not true. He's not a warmonger. He's never shown any evidence that he is. I think more politicians that we've had in the past may have fit that bill, but this president is not like that. This is just something that the left wants you to believe so that once again they can say something about Donald Trump that isn't true, that America will believe, and that you'll hate Donald Trump. That's the whole agenda. We know it. We've seen it. It's been going on since before he became president, and it will continue on for as long as he is the president. So as I've said in the past, just get used to it. Just get used to the fact that you know that this is what's going to happen, because the left is unwilling to accept the fact that they lost. I mean, they're simply unwilling to accept that fact. And they will keep going with the deep state, with anybody and everybody that they can, to just go against this president and try to convince the American public that this man is one, unstable. He's crazy. He wants to start a war. He doesn't know what he's talking about, on and on and on. And again, we've seen zero evidence of it. But that doesn't matter when you're on the left and you have an agenda to push. You'll do and say whatever you feel that you need to do in order to make it happen. So keep that in mind. And I know you're not fooled by the left. And tell people that you know who are fooled by the left to stop listening to garbage. Stop being fooled by people on the left. Find out the facts for yourself. See what's being done. And I know sometimes it's not going to happen. I understand that, but we'll do the best that we can. With shows like mine, with you getting out there and telling people that you know, and maybe word will get around. Maybe someday the truth will come out. That's all we can hope for. That's why the name of the show is Stand for Truth Radio, because that's what we do. We strive to get the truth out there so that people will do their own research, hear the news for what it is, understand when you're being lied to. And I'll tell you, most of the time, what I've seen, you're being lied to. You really are. A lot of people have their own agendas, and that's what they're pushing. And you have to be smarter than that. That's where discernment comes in. That's where doing your own research comes in. That you see who is telling you the truth and who's telling you what they want you to hear because it benefits them. And I think as we have seen so far, this president is interested in benefiting America. You can't say that he's benefiting himself because he doesn't take a salary. You could say, well, he just benefits himself by his ego. I'll tell you what. Yeah, I think you have to have somewhat of a big ego to be president. But if you didn't have that ego, I don't think you could be president. Because I think it takes a special type of individual to do this type of job and want to do it. Because can you imagine the pressure that you have each and every second of your existence as president of the United States? I don't think Donald Trump, I think Donald Trump, seriously has better things that he could be doing. I think it's the noblest thing he could do. And I, for one, appreciate what he does. Do I agree with everything he does? No, I don't. But I think that he is absolutely trying to do the best job that he can. And the left, all they want to do is tie his hands behind his back. That's all they've done. And I'm interested to see, I'm really interested. I want to know, what is he going to do with DACA? And I don't want to explain DACA over again. I'll give you a really short explanation because we've talked about this in shows of the past week or two. But, with DACA, these are dreamers. These are people that were brought here illegally by their parents who were illegally here. These were not children that were born in the United States. They were brought from other countries illegally when their parents came here illegally. And they are now about 25 years old. So the concept of their children, that's no longer true. They're not. They're 25 years old. And as I've said, and older. And as I said before, the president of the United States, whether it's Obama or Donald Trump or anyone else, they do not have the authority to decide issues about immigration. That's a federal law, federal issue, and the president cannot make law. But who does decide and who can make law and can only be the ones who decide the federal issues like that of immigration is Congress. Congress should have acted back in 2012 when then President Obama, came up with a law that he enacted, again, illegal, unconstitutional, can't do. President doesn't have that authority. When he came up with that executive order, they should have immediately moved to get that order nullified, whether they had to take him to court, whatever they had to do. But they didn't. Why? Because then they didn't have to do their job. They allowed the president to take either full responsibility or be fully responsible for a really bad thing that the country had. Then they could come out, and Congress could come out at that point and go, "Oh, wait a minute, President overstepped his authority. Now we're gonna correct all this. Don't worry. The government is here to help you." But they didn't want to do that. They wanted to just let Obama take all the heat and they had to give him all the glory because, again, they didn't do their jobs. As it turned out, for people on the left, they loved it. They could get a green card, a legal residency, they could apply for it, try to get a job here, work visas, whatever. And every 2 years they would have to go and they would have to try to get renewed. And I'm sure every 2 years they did. And so now, when President Trump, and again, people want to be mad at President Trump. Don't be mad at President Trump. He did the right thing. He rescinded an unconstitutional, illegal law that was put in place by former President Obama. He did the right thing. Now, what he didn't have to do was give Congress 6 months. Congress doesn't need permission from the president either to do anything, because they're a separate branch of government. I know people on the left don't even know there's 3 branches of the government, some of them, and I say that because I've seen the videos where they've been asked that question and they have no idea. But now that Congress has an opportunity to do something with DACA, nobody's happy about it. Really. I mean, there are very, very few people who are happy about the situation. Again, a situation that Obama put us in, and Congress for not acting. And again, keep Donald Trump out of it. Donald Trump didn't do anything to impact you in regards to DACA, because sooner or later, somebody was going to bring up the fact that that law was unconstitutional. It would never have been upheld in court, supposedly, unless it's a Ninth Circus, of course, and then everything is upheld, no matter how ridiculous. But we're seeing now how the Democrats thought, oh, great, we'll let Obama carry the water on this one. We'll do nothing. And now they want to come out and act like they really care. Oh, gosh. No, dreamers, we care so much about you, and we're here to help you. We didn't help you back in 2012. We didn't help you in 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, and 2017. Okay, I know it's been a long time. We didn't help you, but we truly do care about you. And I'll tell you, what's happening is that the left is finding out that the people that they thought were going to be future constituents aren't really too happy with the Democrats right now. And we saw that the other day because Nancy Pelosi, the House representative, the minority leader for the House, she had a little press conference in San Francisco because, she's not, listen, she doesn't need to be in Washington. There's nothing to do in Washington, right? Just go back home to San Francisco, Nancy. Wait there, have your little press conference. And when you get back to D.C., no hurry, of course, because there's no work to be done in D.C. We'll see you then. Yes, I'm being sarcastic. So Nancy gets up around on the podium, and she's thinking, this is great. I got everybody here who loves me. This is going to be a slam dunk. It's going to look good on TV. I'm going to look good. And I'm going to watch what I say. I'm not going to sound crazy today if I can help it. And this is going to be great. Wrong. There were people who I'm sure, looking back, she would have said, lock the doors. Let's just do this private. I'll have a little conference. It'll look good. It'll just be me, the podium, and the audience out there. It'll be recorded. You can see it later. But she forgot to lock the doors, and this crowd came in of illegal immigrants and their illegal immigrant children, the Dreamers. And they were chanting, of course. And part of what they were chanting is, this is what democracy looks like. I mean, how many times have we heard that at Black Lives Matter, Antifa, or Antifa, whichever way you want to say it, or at Nancy's press conference? This is what democracy looks like. No, by the way, this is not what democracy looks like. It's what it's become for those on the left due to the ideologies of those on the left, the chaos that they've created on the left. And therefore, on the left, this is what democracy looks like. And Nancy just wanted these people to just shut up and listen. She couldn't understand why these people were just creating all of this noise and distraction, because she had something really important to say. And in fact, when they wouldn't shut up, she started to say to them, it's beautiful to our ears to hear your protection, your self-dignity. Once again, placating, trying to placate what was going on in front of her. It's like, oh my God, what do I do? Oh, I know what. I'll just tell them how much they're loved, how beautiful what they're saying is, and they'll shut up. Well, no, they didn't shut up. They began to drown her out by chanting again. And one part of what they were chanting is yes or no, yes or no. Are you going to give us amnesty or not? That's what they wanted to know. So Nancy, being the mom that she is, Nancy said, Stop it. Just stop it. Stop it. Nancy, she's got, if Nancy says stop it, the waters are going to part and people are going to silence themselves immediately, right? Well, no, they didn't. So, and I'll tell you, at a certain part, you could see Nancy was visibly shaken because these people weren't out in the crowd. These people were in her face, gathered around her. Now, at one point, she had this female African-American woman, big in size, standing right there. But I never at once saw that woman do anything to protect Nancy. She was just kind of standing there looking a little bored, I have to say, unaffected by what was going on. And she just kind of let Nancy do her thing and let the people around her do their thing too. And so while Nancy's shaking, these people continue to shout. And Nancy's like, they're not. She looks around incredulously at a guy behind her and said, they don't care about DACA. They don't want to hear about DACA. They don't care. Really, Nancy? You think? Because Nancy, what they want is they want you to give them exactly what they want. And they know that you're probably not going to be the one that does that because you haven't done that ever. Okay? And you're only doing it now because you have to. Because in 6 months, and in a way it was ingenious that Donald Trump did this, because had he not put a time limit on it, or just said we're ending, the blame would have been pushed on him. But now he can say, Congress, you got 6 months. Do something with it. Make it happen for the dreamers that you say that you love. And so now the focus is, okay, what's Congress going to do? We're going to all be out here watching. And so it's really great. And now the dreamers, while they still don't like Donald Trump, the dreamers are now eating their own, as they say. They're going to the Democrat Party, the ones that everybody thought that they loved. All the Democrats thought they loved them. And again, thought this, well, here's our future voters, because we're going to get them amnesty, and they're just going to vote for all of us. Now they're not going to be so sure, right? But here's a statement that the dreamers and those that were there read, and to all the Democrats who were listening and who bothered to show up that day. It says, we remember all too well how for 8 years the Democrats laid siege to our communities, raiding and deporting nearly 3 million people of our family members and loved ones. Where was your resistance then? Miss Pelosi, did you think we would forget? We send a clear message to our fellow undocumented youth and community. We are the resistance to Trump, not the Democrats. I would say there's really not all that much for you to resist because Donald Trump is saying, Congress, do your job. Why do you need to resist him? You should be, and people, it was so funny on Twitter, people were saying, are you guys crazy? These people, you should be supporting the Democrats. Why are you doing that? Why are you mad at the Democrats? That's crazy. They didn't get it either, apparently. And one of the things that they kept shouting, and what I kept saying is they had a very clear message. And that clear message is, and they were holding up signs saying this too, fight for all 11 million. And they would say, all of us or none of us. So, what they're saying is, our parents that are here illegally, the ones that brought us here, all the relatives that have come in illegally, and everybody else that's here illegally, including ourselves, you give us all amnesty or none of us. So, I know other people say, okay, well, none of you. Then you can just go. Well, they're not going. They don't mean that. They should have just said amnesty for all of us or else. That would be more realistic because what are they going to do if they don't get amnesty? I don't know. Are they going to be like what we've seen in St. Louis over the past 4 nights? Are they going to be like in Georgia Tech with the riots there? They call them protests, but they're actually riots. Is that what we're going to see? My guess is that would be pretty close to what we're going to see. And I think they just, they were placated for 8 years, or actually 5, under Obama because they got something. And I think if you're looking at many people in Congress, especially on the Democrats, they will want to give everybody amnesty. And I know that really disappoints a lot of people on the right because they're saying Donald Trump said he was going to get rid of DACA. And Donald Trump said that he was going to deport illegals. Well, what Donald Trump said actually was, when he got in office anyway, he said, I am going to deport those people that have committed a crime, other than committing a crime coming into this country illegally. I am going to deport those people. So all of those that came in and committed a crime after they were here, they're on their way out. He also said, I have a heart for those people, the dreamers. And I'm telling you, neither the dreamers or the other illegals, the 11 million, they're not going anywhere. And they never were. So for those people who think that Donald Trump is going to tell the 800,000 people that they have to leave, not going to happen. It's not going to happen. If nothing else, it would be tied up in the court system for 20 plus years. I mean, because you're going to have every nonprofit organization that makes money off the heads of those people that are here illegally. You're going to have them up in arms and filing lawsuits. You're going to have the ACLU filing lawsuits, and anybody else that in some way is impacted by DACA being here, which they feel is a positive way. They're not going to let those people leave. And in fact, just this morning I was talking about new people have come out and have sent letters to Congress. Before we had Microsoft, Google, and Amazon sending letters to Congress saying, please don't kick DACA out. Please let DACA stay. So now we have, joining into that, a new letter sent by Walmart, Target, and Pepsi saying, please give some permanent protection for the DACA people. Now, they didn't, for the dreamers. So they didn't come out and say, please give them amnesty. But they knew that was going to create problems. This should create problems for them. But they knew definitely that would create problems. So they didn't say that. But they said give them the operative word here, permanent solution. I don't know about you, but I'm looking at all of this and going, knowing again that those people aren't leaving. They're not leaving. What's the best solution? And I'll tell you, what we had under Obama, I hate to say this, I hate to even admit this, but that probably was the best solution. And I don't think Congress is going to go back to what Obama had, because Congress, as I said, especially the Democrats, they're going to be pushing for at least some type of amnesty. I don't know about you. I feel bad for the dreamers in some way that were brought here by their parents. They didn't have a choice. But do I want those people to be allowed to get in front of everybody else who's been standing in line for, 10 years trying to get here legally? And I don't think they should be allowed to do that. Again, as much as you may want to have sympathy for them, these people aren't children anymore. I don't know if they had an ability to try to, they could have at least tried to get a green card and legal residency, something. But they don't want that. They want it all. They want amnesty. And I don't know how you justify that, again, to all those other people who have been standing there diligently waiting for the United States to grant them citizenship when they've been here legally. It's not fair. So I guess the question will be, what is Donald Trump going to do in the end here? If he gets something that comes across his desk from Congress that says either A, these people get amnesty right now, or B, they will have a path to citizenship. Is Donald Trump going to sign it? What do you think? I think, personally, I think there's a very good chance that he would go with something that said, we'll give them a path to citizenship. Maybe that means, military service or some things, but I think there's going to be something in there that a lot of people are just not going to like, because there's no good answer. I mean, it's either black or white. You let them stay, or you deport them. And they can't even deport fast enough the illegal immigrants that they have here that have committed crimes and need to leave the country. They can't deport them fast enough because they don't have enough people. They don't have enough judges in the federal courts to get it done. I think it may be speeding up a little bit, but they're not doing it. And I'm not saying they shouldn't go. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying when you have to put reality into the equation, and you have to also base it upon what other left-leaning people are going to do in order to prevent that. And they will, they'll be active. They're not going to sit back and wait. They're going to be active. And they're actively doing it now. And as we've talked about before, there are 9 organizations in the United States right now, only 9, that are allowed to receive money for taking care of refugees and those people here illegally, and on and on. They get about $2,000 per head. They're not going to want to see these people leave. And, California, making themselves a sanctuary state. And it looks like that the governor, who will approve the bill and sign it into law. Again, California wants to have future voters, that they can help the whole nation ensure that you're never going to get another Republican president by doing what they're doing. And I know California would say, oh, but no, we're not doing that. We're protecting our immigrants. Well, first of all, they're not your immigrants. They're here illegally. And number 2, I'm sorry, I didn't fall off the turnip truck. I know what you're doing. The fact that you register, get a license now, you're giving illegals licenses and at the DMV, and they're automatically registered to vote. I'm sorry. Please spare me. Just tell me, yeah, you know what, Susan, that's exactly what we're doing. I could live with that better than you're trying to lie and tell me that you're just trying to protect illegal immigrants. No, you want to protect your money. First off, you're protecting your money, you're protecting your votes, and you know exactly what you're doing. It's shameful. California, it's shameful. And again, sanctuary states are going to pop up all over. And they don't care, that the president or Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General, comes out and said, hey, we're going to withhold your federal money. They've already sued to say, no, you can't withhold the federal grants. And in some instances, the courts are saying, that's right, you can't do it. We have a country right now that is kind of, not kind of, we're upside down. Let's just face it. We're so upside down. The courts aren't imposing the laws that they should impose. We've got the president over here from the last administration creating a law. We've got the Congress whose job it is to create law, not creating law. It's screwed up. It's screwed up. I tell you, in a lot of respects, I feel really bad for Donald Trump. You can't drain a swamp when what's surrounding that swamp is a bigger body of water and a bigger swamp. I think President Trump thought that he could go into D.C. and that he could start getting, part of that of the swamp cleared, and it wouldn't be that bad. He didn't know. He didn't know at the time just how deep that swamp really goes. It's thick. And you have a former president who is not letting go of being president. He still wants to be president. In fact, I think he's giving some speech today. Spare me. I don't want to hear it. And he's going to be out there in full force again for quote unquote, the American people who want to get Democrats elected. And we're going to see more and more of his face. But there's just so much wrong inside of our country right now with our political system, government, everything else, that there's such an uphill battle for this president. And I hope you're praying for him and the administration every day. I really do. Because I've never seen a time in history where that was needed more than it is now. And we continue to watch things like Mueller with, his job was to go in there and see what kind of Russian interference there was in the election. And so what is he doing? Well, he's going back 11 years and looking at what Paul Manafort has done 11 years ago. Okay, and that has something to do with the election last year. How? And granted, there may be stuff in Paul Manafort's past that he should go to prison for, go to jail for, be fined. I don't know, and I really don't care, because that's not the job of Mueller. His job, he had a very defined scope of what it is that he was supposed to do. And it wasn't limitless. In fact, Rosenstein, whatever his name is, he should be going there and saying, whoa, time out. Mueller, what are you doing? How is this going back 11 years and looking at Manafort? How is this looking at interference in the election last year? How is that? And, of course, it doesn't have anything to do with it. And he's hired somebody else who's a specialist looking at the financial dealings of Manafort. Another Democrat donor, Hillary donor, Obama donor, whatever. How much money? I want an accounting of how much money has been spent on this investigation. I want to know how much of my tax dollars has been wasted on things that I know don't exist. Because here's the thing. If there had been evidence in the very beginning of Russian meddling with the election, it would already be out. If there'd been information that President Trump somehow had colluded with the Russians, it would have already been out. I think probably what Mueller is trying to do, if anything, he's hoping that he can go with two reasons. He's hoping he can go after Manafort, because if he can go after Manafort and get something on him, whether it's related to this or not, he can say, I was justified in using and spending all the money that I did. All the money that I wasted, at least I got one person out of it. And, of course, they're going after Flynn. Flynn's probably going to file bankruptcy because they're coming after him so hard. And I think his son as well. So this is what we're doing. And with no accounting for the scope of what he's doing, no accounting for the money that he's wasted, and actually what he's trying to do with Manafort. So either it's to get Manafort for something so we can say, look, we're justified in spending the money. Or the hope is, if I can get Manafort, I can get him to talk. I can get him to squeal and talk about the president and the president's involvement. Okay, here's what I have to say to that. We already know that during the campaign, during the campaign at least, and after, Manafort was wiretapped, right? That just recently came out. And we have the transcripts when he was talking to the president. Because during that time, if you're wiretapping him at some point, whether you're standing there in the men's bathroom or wherever you are, you're going to have been talking to the president. And so if you have that, if you wiretapped Manafort and you know there's anything on those tapes to incriminate the president, then you don't need to go back 11 years. You don't need to get Manafort in order to get President Trump. You don't have anything on those wiretaps. So now you're looking for anything and everything, some needle in a haystack to make your existence relevant. I mean, when are we going to call a stop to this? And the answer is we're not. We're not going to do that. Rosenstein is not going to go up and say, okay, time's up. It's been real. Thanks for coming out, but you can go now. Because if he does that, then it's going to be, well, there you go. You're obstructing justice. We've got some things here. You know we're getting close to the president, and you are obstructing justice. So you know what? Mueller can do this for 8 years. Mueller can go and you know, if they find out that your grandmother went and had a tour of the White House, and maybe just so happened Manafort happened to be in the building at the time, then maybe they can go after grandma too. You know, there's no end to this. Now, we can't go after the grandma whose last name is Clinton, but we can go after everybody else's grandma. And we can go after anybody that we want to. I haven't seen one person, not one person that they've talked to on the Democrat side. And what about this with Debbie Wasserman Schultz and the Awan brothers? Hello, silence. We hear nothing from mainstream media on that. So, again, this whole thing is a farce created by the Democrats, as it's always been in the very beginning, to be able to bring down the GOP, bring down this president, I don't know, whatever you want to say, increase their worth. And I don't know where it's going to end. I don't think it's going to end. And I don't know what people want to blame Jeff Sessions. Oh, well, Jeff Sessions should never have recused himself. We've been over that before. Jeff Sessions, if he wanted to be an ethical attorney, he really didn't have a choice. And they're saying, well, but he didn't tell the president. He should have just said, I don't want to be attorney general because, you know, I can't do anything if Russia comes up. He did tell the president during his confirmation hearing. He told it publicly. Jeff Sessions said it publicly. I think it was Franken that asked him, if anything happens with Russia, what are you going to do? He said, I'll go to the DOJ, I'll ask them what they want me to do, and I'll follow what they tell me I need to do. And the attorneys at the DOJ said, you know what, Jeff? You need to recuse yourself. Now, President Trump at that point, I agree it's in the confirmation hearing stage, but he could have said, you know what? I'm withdrawing my candidate. He really could have done that. So we can't put everything on Jeff Sessions. He did the right thing. You may not like it, and you may disagree with me that he did the right thing. I was a practicing attorney. I know how important ethics are to the bar. I know if you want to keep your license, what you should and shouldn't do. And again, I think Mueller, if he's doing this as an attorney, and I guess that's how he gets away with it, he's not really doing it as an attorney, but he's got conflicts of interest so far that, you know, it's taller than any mountain, taller than Mount Rushmore. So anyway, I don't know. And again, just look for this to go on ad nauseum. It's never going to stop, okay? Never going to stop. And who knows? Maybe at one point Manafort will just start making things up just to get it over with. I don't know. Hopefully there's an integrity that he's not going to do that. Hopefully these people, and I say these people, Mueller, people on the left, because that's who it really comes from. Let's hope they don't get what they want. And you're not going to see this president. I don't know what it's going to take to know that this president is not going to be impeached. We're wasting time, money, and effort. And let's remember, Clinton kept going after he was impeached. I mean, so for all those people who think, well, if you just impeach somebody, they're going to leave as president. No, that's not true. And remember, there's Vice President Pence. And, of course, they'll try to find something on Pence because, again, the Democrats just want to rule the world. Let's face it. They want to rule the world. They're the elites, the globalists, and they want to take over. And I say that kind of half in jest because we have those same people on the right as well in Congress. So what else is going on that's important? Well, the left wants your children. I know you already know that. I know it's something that you've heard before, but let me just tell you again. The left wants your children. Now, why do I say that? Well, CNN has a new documentary out. with Lisa Ling. You know Lisa. Everybody loves Lisa. She's so cute. She's so wonderful. Well, now she's going to teach your children about sex. And she's going to take it to the high schools. And in fact, she did just that recently. She was standing there showing this little documentary, Sex 101. I think it was called something like Sex with Lisa Ling. How cute. You know, so cute. And in the video, she's sitting in a classroom with the high schoolers, and they're listening to a teacher give a lesson, and they're quizzing the students. The teacher is quizzing the students on the proper term for a woman who is receiving a certain sex act. Now, I don't really want to say what that is, because this goes out on a lot of different radio stations and internet and things like that, and so I'm not at liberty to say what it is, but trust me, it's a sex act. And among other graphic questions. So your child needs to know what the proper definition is for a term of a woman who is receiving a certain type of sex act. Other topics taught in the classroom include how to use condoms for when you're having, let's just say, same-sex couples are engaging in a sex act. And the CNN host, Lisa Ling, then turns to the camera and says that the teaching is inclusive, and was very happy that this was being done. The teacher also states that she has children who are transitioning genders, and she was asking them what their preferred pronoun is. Now, I talked about this on one of my earlier shows, and I had people saying, well, don't you know that this happens? They should be taught about this type of sex, or, you know, how to protect themselves, on and on and on. It's the same argument that we always get. You know, children are going to have sex, they're going to do different sex acts, they're going to have same-sex acts, and that, wouldn't it be better to teach them about it rather than watch them get AIDS or STDs or whatever? You know, my answer is always the biblical one is, wouldn't it be better if we taught children to abstain from having sex? That's number one. And I know the left doesn't like that argument. Communists don't like that argument. I get it. But it is a valid argument, and it's always dismissed as outdated, old-fashioned, ridiculous, biblical, blah, blah, blah. All right. So let's move on to argument number two. Number two is, it's not your school's job to teach your children about these types of things. Because I know this is old-fashioned too, but I think your parents ought to be the ones that teach their children about sex, religion, whatever the case may be. I don't ever think it's the school's place to do that. Just me. I get it. Just me. But they want your children, and they're going to teach them these types of things. There was also a class where they were in California. They were going to teach your children about slavery and how bad it was, and the repercussions. They were going to take duct tape, tie the hands together. They were going to then put them down on the floor in a dark room, and they were going to show them a clip of Roots. And they sent this out to the parents and saying, this is what we're going to do. Luckily, some parents objected to it, and they called that off. Political correctness, that's what that was. Trying to appease the left, that's what that was. You're going to see more and more of this, parents, and I hate to tell you this, and hate to be the bearer of bad news, but as the times get worse and we see things quicken and worsen in our society, you're going to see more and more where the left reaches out and tries to take your children. Whether it's taking their minds or their bodies, that's what they want to do. And I know that sounds a little conspiratorial, but if you just look at what they've been doing since the 1900s in schools, you'll understand it's not a conspiracy, it's really happening. So anyway, keep that in mind. Be on top of things that are going on in your child's school, so that you know exactly what's being said, what's being done. And if you don't approve of it, get out there and complain. Get out there and stop it so that this doesn't happen. That's all you have to do. Be aware. So until next time, thank you so much for being here today. It's a pleasure seeing you here. I'm glad that you could make it. Until next time, God bless you. Take care. And I'll be back again next week with another Knowles on the News for you. Take care. God bless.